Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Meira Neggaz, and I'm the Executive Director of ISPU. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining us. The Spring Dinner is really exciting because it's really a chance to bring a smaller group of our closest and most cherished partners, supporters, and friends all together to listen to some really, really great speakers. And I think we've kind of outdone ourselves tonight. We have a great lineup for you. And after this long and really crazily cold winter, I think a dose of our spring dinner is what the many, many doctors in this room have probably ordered for us. With all that ISPU has accomplished in the past few months, it's kind of hard to believe that it's only April. In the past 4 months, ISPU has done a number of things. We've launched 2 major projects. We've held research sharing events in Michigan, in California, and in Washington, D.C. We've presented on a variety of conference panels. We've published at least 3 op-eds. We have provided much needed insight into hot button topics to various media outlets. And indeed, with the ramp up to the elections in 2016 and the 24/7 coverage of ISIS and other things going on in the world, ISPU has been asked to advise CNN editors on content, suggestions for guest panelists, scholars, and our upcoming research. But I think most excitingly and most importantly, in the past 4 months, in an historic meeting between the American Muslim community and the White House, ISPU was invited, along with 14 others, to meet with President Obama himself and a number of his senior staffers. Thanks to your support, and truly it is your support that allowed this to happen, we were able to provide our research directly to the decision makers and policy shapers at the absolute highest levels of government. And through your support, we've been able to engage the White House on a substantive conversation about the American Muslim community. It is really because of that access that we absolutely understand the value and importance of tonight's event and the speakers who are joining us here. So tonight, as ISPU embarks on a new project to ensure that American Muslims are able to amplify their voices, create collective action, and make the priorities heard, we are really honored to have such a lineup of very distinguished set of activists, organizers, planners, and mobilizers. I want a show of hands. How many of you actually remember the first time you cast a vote in an election? How many of you remember that? So probably half or 3/4 of the room. I am clearly a late bloomer because I actually don't remember the first time I voted. My awareness of the importance of voting actually only kicked in after I watched South Africans take to the polls in droves in 1994 when Nelson Mandela ran for president. And I watched people walking for miles and miles, often for hours and hours, to get to a polling place. And I watched people stand in line for hours and hours to cast their vote. I was in my 20s, and the optimism was palpable and quite contagious. What the people in those lines found precious, I had until then found pretty mundane and hadn't really paid much attention. But I have never missed a vote since. It's often said, if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. And I think this is very sadly often true. And that is why tonight and the work that we're embarking on is so crucial. In the coming year, ISPU plans to work with our supporters and partners to ensure that this community has a voice in the 2016 elections. That is, we want this community to exercise what is not at all a mundane activity, but rather a precious gift.